Omagyan Timirandasya Gyananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dunbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Taptakanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishbhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Okay, so we start with chapter 5 today. Can you please tell me what was the name for chapter 1? Yes, what was the name for chapter 1?
Arjuna Vishadi Yoga.
Very nice, thank you. Arjuna Vishadi Yoga, or observing the armies in the battlefield. Chapter 2? Yes, can you all participate please? Chapter 2? What is the name for chapter 2?
Gita Sarans.
Gita Saransha.
Or summary of Bhagavad Gita, contents of Bhagavad Gita summarized. Chapter 3?
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga. Chapter 4?
Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga, transcendental knowledge. Thank you. Thank you. And now this is Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. Same as chapter 3. So there is similarities between the two chapters in Bhagavad Gita. For example, chapter 3 and 5, chapter 7 and 9, chapter 14 and chapter 17. So there is it looks like it's a continuation from what was left off in chapter 3 is more spoken in chapter 5. What was left off in chapter 7 is spoken more on in chapter 9. What was left off in chapter 14 is continued in chapter 17. So like that, you will see this kind of rhythm in Bhagavad Gita as it is when you read it. Let's pay our obeisances to Shri Shri Radha Govinda before we proceed. This is the quick overview of what we did yesterday. Transcendental knowledge about Krishna, where we studied that Krishna gave the history of Bhagavad Gita. Then he also gave the timeline and also answered Arjun's question that how come he asked Krishna, how come we are my contemporary, so how could you have spoken this Bhagavad Gita to Sun God, whose name was, what was the name of Sun God at the time when Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita? What was the name?
Vishwasan.
Vivashwan.
Vivashwan. Very nice. Thank you very much. Vivashwan. Okay, so how is it possible? So Krishna answers that. And also we studied about when does Krishna appear, why does Krishna appear, and how does Krishna appear? And what is the difference between my body and Krishna's body? Then Krishna is the goal and is the path of the creator of Varnashram system. Then there was a little bit of Karma Yoga where Krishna gave us one-line instruction that the intricacies of karma are hard to understand. But just understand by definition what is karma, what is vikarma, and what is akarma. Then there's several sacrifices that lead to transcendental knowledge or jnana yoga. And at the end of that, he said, okay, I have given this knowledge to you. Now slash all your doubts with this, with the weapon of this knowledge now, and then get up with determination and fight. Right? And then also there was an emphasis for whom to learn this knowledge from. So one has to approach the guru. Again, don't worry about this short overview in this table right now in this chapter, because you will understand it much more at the end of the presentation, hopefully. Arjun, basically this chapter starts with, again, Arjun asking question to Krishna about taking sannyas versus doing work in Krishna consciousness. Same that he asked in chapter 3. But there's a little bit difference, which I'll emphasize. Krishna again saying the same thing, Karma Yoga is better. And then he again describes the qualities of Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then the goal of Nishkam Karma Yoga is to focus on the Supreme. So this is how this chapter starts. Arjuna Vacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punar Yogam Cha Samshasi Yashreya Etayor Ekam Tanme Bruhi Sunishchitam. Arjun said, "O Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? Remember, he says, Yash Shreya Etayor Ekam. Tell me definitely one thing. Tan me bruhi, which is most beneficial for me. Su nishchitam. Most certainly. Nishchitam is with, okay, you make up a nishchay, you make up a decision, but perfect decision, the best of all. In chapter 3, he said, Tad Ekam Vada. Tell me one thing, Krishna. Here he's saying, Yashriya Etayor Ekam. Tell me one thing definitely. Same thing. Because you're telling me two things. You ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now the question comes is that how come Arjun is confused one more time? So we are going to study the events or the talks that have led to Arjun's confusion. In chapter 2, Krishna gives the knowledge of compassion, the knowledge of soul, the knowledge of soul, as an answer to which of Arjun's reason not to fight. Yes, what was Arjun's reason that led Krishna to speak about the knowledge of soul?
No enjoyment.
Knowledge of soul?
Passion, no sin,
He didn't want to kill his relatives, his family members.
compassion.
Very nice. Compassion. You see, my family members are object of my compassion. Thank you, everyone, for contributing. So, but the particular knowledge of soul was told by Krishna to Arjun as an answer to his request of not fighting on the grounds of compassion for his family members. My family members are object of my compassion. I'm supposed to love them, not kill them. Arjun, then Krishna said, knowledge of soul, your compassion is misdirected to the body. You got to love the soul. And okay, so then he gives Buddhi Yoga or intelligence. When Arjun says that killing the elders of the family is going to incur me sinful reactions, so Krishna said, in this path of bhakti, there is no sin. On the contrary, even if one does a little bit advancement on this path, he's saved from the biggest fear of death. Okay, so in chapter 3, Krishna says these things. Chapter 3, verse 17 and verse 18. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Okay, so basically it sounds like that anyone who is very happy within themselves basically doesn't have any work to perform. And he goes on to say in 18th verse of 3rd chapter, a self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living entity. So when we read all this, do you also get the sense that knowledge means inaction, means now I'm situated in the knowledge of soul, and soul has nothing to do with this world, so I have nothing to do, because my only reason is to become self-realized and be Atmaram like Krishna, like satisfied in self. So I don't need to go out and fight a war. I don't need to go out and work. I don't need to go out and maintain a family. Do you get that sense as well?
No, Mataji.
No. Okay,
No.
so nice. Thank you. Yes, because that's why we need the acharyas. If we just are left on our own to understand Bhagavad Gita, we'll not be able to understand. But anyhow, Arjun got that sense. That's why he's confused. For him, there is no duty, no reason to perform any work, no need. And then in 33rd verse of chapter 4, Krishna says, O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So all sacrifice of work culminates in knowledge, means knowledge is superior than work. So Arjun is like, wait a second, am I supposed to focus on getting knowledge, or am I supposed to focus on getting work? So from all the things that I've heard so far, oh Krishna, it looks like knowledge is superior to work. But here is the twister. In the last verse of last chapter, or 4th chapter, 42nd verse, Krishna says, therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharat, stand and fight. Basically, you just said that transcendental knowledge is superior, but now you're telling me stand and fight. Anyway, I'll simplify it. Chapter 2, Krishna gives the knowledge of soul. And then he also tells us that, okay, you have a knowledge of soul, but now you work through Buddhi Yoga. And then Arjun becomes confused whether I should focus on renunciation or knowledge, or Buddhi Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga, or working for Krishna. Chapter 3, what should he do? Then he heard about karma through jnana, action in inaction and inaction in action. So work, but work in such a way that you're not bound to the result of the work. Okay, you're going to fight, but fight in such a way that you're not going to incur a sinful activity by killing others. How do you do that? Action in inaction, by doing it for Krishna. Remember, I gave this example. A military person of one country is fighting on behalf of its country in another land, in another country. They're killing, right? They're killing the people of other country, but they don't incur sinful reaction. Why? Because they're on duty on behalf of their country in a war. So that's action in inaction. Now, conclusion is glorifying transcendental knowledge. So, and then he says, okay, stand and fight. Basically, what's happening is devotional service, Arjun's misunderstanding one more time, because we really got to understand this, that what makes Arjun confused one more time, when we thought, and everyone, and even Arjun must have thought that answers were already given. So Krishna emphasizes devotional service is better than dry mental speculation in chapter 3. All right. And in second chapter, he gives knowledge of the soul. And then in these verses in the second chapter, verse 31 to 37, he describes the prescribed duty. And then in second chapter, verse 42 to 45, he describes entanglement of the soul due to fruitive activities. And then he again says, okay, disentangle yourself by devotional service. In third chapter, then he goes and takes a turn and says there is no duty for a person in knowledge. In fourth chapter, he explains that all sacrificial work culminates in knowledge. But in the last chapter in the last verse of fourth chapter, Krishna again told Arjun to get up and fight with determination. So Arjun is confused whether to renounce or whether to fight. Is that clear or not clear? What makes Arjun confused one more time? Is that clear?
Yes, Mother.
Yes, Master.
Is there anybody who is not clear? This is a good time to clarify the confusion. It's a good time. Otherwise, whatever I'm going to speak from there on is not going to make any sense. Okay. Aditya Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Not clear? Could you pinpoint what is not clear?
One more time.
Sure. So you see, in let me go back. In chapter 2, Krishna explained, just focus here with me. In Krishna explains the knowledge of the soul. So knowledge of the soul, right? Knowledge means Arjun is thinking knowledge means inaction or inertia, means you just read a book, okay, or you just meditate. But then in the same chapter, he talks about working for Krishna on behalf of Krishna. That's Buddhi Yoga. So he led to the confusion in chapter 3, whether he should fight or he should renounce work. This is the ground for confusion in chapter 3. But then in chapter 3, in certain places, like verse number 17, verse number 18, he talks about a person. Krishna talks about a person who is situated in knowledge. He says for him, there is no duty. Person who is in knowledge has no reason, has no duties to fulfill, has no reason not to perform such work, and no need to depend on other living beings. So no need to work. Fourth chapter, verse 33, he says, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So sounds like, no, knowledge is better than working. But then the last verse of last chapter, he says, stand and fight. Slash all these doubts in your heart, which have arisen because of ignorance, with the weapon of knowledge, and use knowledge to solve your doubts, but ultimately get up and fight, stand and fight. So now Arjun is confused. Should I focus on knowledge or should I focus on fight? Is that clear, Prabhu?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, so Ashu, what's not clear? Ashu, can you unmute? Can you tell me what's not clear in chapter 3? Okay, I'll go one more time. Chapter 3, later in the chapter, Krishna speaks about these things. A person who's taking pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, who's satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Then a self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duty. Nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Basically, it sounds like, oh, so I have no duty. I have no reason to do this duty. I have no reason also not to do this duty. I have no reason to depend on any other living entity for my sustenance because I'm a soul. Sounds like knowledge is better, right? I don't know if it's clear or not. Anyhow, so I'll proceed. So then what happens? So Arjun is confused. Okay, this is a fundamental thing. It's very nice. All beings are constantly making plans for the future. Yeah? Anybody here not making plan? What am I going to do after this class is over? How is my morning looking like tomorrow? When are we going on vacation? Yes? Are we making plans?
Yes.
Or no,
Yes.
no plans?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah,
Yes,
what's for
Mataji.
breakfast? What's for lunch tomorrow? Yeah. Okay, we are constantly making. So our thoughts are manifested in actions. So whatever we think is what we do. Repeated actions form the habits. Habits form our character. Character determines our destiny. And how to take steps in the right direction is described in this chapter. This is a very practical chapter. That is why it is called Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. How do you act in that? There are steps leading to further entanglement in worldly complexities, and there are steps leading to a life of liberation, freedom from tranquility and peace. So again, thoughts lead to actions, action lead to habits, habits lead to character, character leads to destiny. What kind of life are we making for ourselves? Okay, so there's a saying in English, man is an architect of its own destiny. So how? Because it starts with the thoughts. Okay, one last time I'm going to touch Arjun is confused. Why? Because it is Krishna's plan to keep Arjun confused. Why Krishna does so? For our benefit. To stress that work and renunciation are not opposed to each other. Rather, one must learn to work in a renounced spirit. Arjun thinks that Gyan implies the renunciation of work. And that knowledge and work, like light and darkness, are contradictory. Krishna emphasizes, however, that one in knowledge should also work. Okay, over here, are you understanding? Like, it's not that, okay, because I'm in knowledge now, I have no work to perform. Yeah, no, Krishna says one who is in knowledge should work, but work with knowledge. It's not that you don't work. So this is what Krishna says. Shri Bhagavan Sannyasa karma yogascha nihrishesya karav ubhau tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. Okay, this is Krishna's verdict. Now, what kind of a renunciation are we talking about? We're talking about karma sannyas. Okay, karma sannyas means taking renunciation from one's own prescribed duties, not doing it. Let's say if I'm a mom, I don't do that. I don't act like one. I don't take care of my children. I don't nurture them. I don't feed them because I'm a sannyasi now. So I'm going to just do Hari Bhajan, sitting in a corner of the house. That's good. I'm doing Hari Bhajan, but that's the meaning of karma sannyas. Okay, so it's not the sannyas that devotees in ISKCON take. That's not karma sannyas. Karma sannyas is this, like Arjun, his karma is to act like a Kshatriya at the moment, but he's going to become a renunciant. He's just going to leave the fight. He's just going to go and go to jungle and live there. So that's karma sannyas. Karma yoga is doing the prescribed duty in such a way that it becomes a service or offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says Karma Yoga Vishishyate. Vishishyate is more important. Karma Yoga is more important. So one can also say that only karma can be more important. Why Karma Yoga? Why are you guys emphasizing so much on the yoga part of karma? Because, I'm a good person. One can say, I'm not saying for myself, I'm acting as one. So I'm a good person. I go earn my money, not in the black market. I earn in a right way. I pay my dues. I pay my taxes. I take care of my family. I feed them with the food that is earned by my own money. I am not causing trouble knowingly to anybody in my family, in my neighborhood, in my country. I'm good. I'm a very good person, I'm very moral. So, and I do some ritualistic activities, I do some festivals. So what is the problem in living a life like that? What is the need to make everything as an offering to Krishna? Are you overrating it? This can be a doubt. So there is a story in Krishna book. There is a king called Nriga. There was a king called Nriga in this right picture, this king. He was very expert in performing fruitive activities. Fruitive activity means doing sacrifices, giving charities, usually because so I can get the fruit and I can enjoy the fruit. I'm going to do this sacrifice and charity so that my kingdom will have more rain, so that there'll be more grain, so that there'll be more money, and I will be able to buy so many other things. Not that I'm going to offer to Krishna. So that's fruitive activity. He did one mistake. What happened? He was, constantly doing this sacrifice and charity continuously. So, and he was very charitably disposed. He gave in charity to the brahmanas who were doing the yagya, the cows. And each and every cow was a milking cow. And the cow had very nice jewelry, very nice clothing, was very well kept, healthy. So what happened? So this Brahmana, he was going home with his herd of donated cows. There were lakhs and lakhs of cows donated to each and every Brahmana who did the yagya. Somehow, one cow from his herd, when he was going home, escaped and entered the herd of the cows, which was yet to be donated to another Brahmana. So he noticed. I wonder how he noticed also. He noticed, oh my goodness, my cow has escaped. One cow has escaped. Out of the sea of lakhs and lakhs of cow, one has escaped. So he goes behind that cow. And by the time he reaches, King Nriga had already donated the other herd and by mistake had already redonated that cow to another Brahmana. All right. So that these two Brahmanas start fighting. Says this cow was donated to me. It had escaped and it entered your herd. And it was redonated by King Nriga, but actually it's me because it's mine because it was given to me first. Then King Nriga, so these two Brahmanas are fighting over cows. So this King Nriga is saying, I'm sorry, the mistake was mine. Can you please let this cow go? And in exchange of one cow, I will give you 1 lakh cows. So I think it's not a bad deal. For one cow, let it go and you get 1 lakh cows. But anger, how it causes delusion and forgetfulness of the memory. So the anger was so much between these two Brahmanas over one cow that they actually cursed Nriga. They cursed him. And when King Nriga died, he went to the Yamaraj and Yamaraj said, Maharaj, you have so many things to enjoy because of all your sacrifices and charities, but then there is one curse or one mistake. So what do you want me to give you first? Would you want to enjoy the results of your activities first, or would you like me to give the curse first? Sorry. So Maharaj said, King Nriga said, give me the punishment first. Then I'll have this lifelong rest from after I go through the suffering of my punishment. So Yamaraj made him a lizard in a well. And also gave Narad Muni gave a blessing that this lizard will be liberated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So yeah, so this lizard had to stay, or the king in the form of the lizard had to stay in that well for millions and millions of years, until one day Krishna and Krishna's family came to the park in which this well was there and this lizard was there. And Krishna's sons were playing and they saw this lizard and they tried to take it out for fun. Krishna's boys, Krishna's sons. They couldn't, so they grabbed Krishna and says, Father, Father, we want to play with this lizard. Please get this lizard out. Krishna just extended his left hand and brought this lizard out, and then King Mriga got liberated. When he got liberated, because he could remember even in the lizard body that this is why I'm here, he actually confessed. He confessed to Krishna the futility of fruitive activities. He says, okay, therefore devotional service is the only auspicious activity for the soul. So these fruitive activities are so futile. I was doing so many of them, just one mistake, and here I am laying as a lizard for millions and millions of years. And now only after you have come that I am able to be coming out. So that is the importance of performing karma yoga versus karma only. Okay, that's the answer. But then one may say that what is the renunciation that? How can you be renunciant when you're actually working? That sounds too confusing, right? Like, how can you be a renunciant and how can you be working? Because the main motivation to go to work is that I'm going to be performing this work. I'm going to get some acknowledgement. I'm going to bring home some money. I'm going to be going up in my career. So the result is a motivation. But how can you say that one can be renounced and work? So this principle is explained by Rupa Goswami Prabhupada in Nectar of Devotion. This is the verse which explains how we can do that. Prapanchakitaya buddhaya hari sambandhi vastunaha mukshibhi parityago vairagyam falgu kathyate. I'll first read the meaning and then we'll discuss what it is. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking them to be material, their renunciation is called incomplete. So basically, it's like, I'm going to give example of what Namanishta Prabhu gives us. Okay, it says, okay, let's say that you are on your morning walk. When you're going home, you see this particular person standing in front of this closed bank building, because it's early in the morning, and he's saying, oh, State Bank of India, I renounce you. I renounce you, State Bank of India. So what are the thoughts that cross your mind about this person? What are some of the thoughts that that might be crossing?
So what's wrong with this person?
Very nice. Yes, very nice. Thank you. Anyone else? What could be crossing? What thought could be crossing your mind? It says, State Bank of India, I renounce you. Go ahead.
It's not his to renounce to begin with.
Very nice. Okay. So it means that there's some need for organizing the thought process. That there's this distorted thought in this person. So there's some need to organize the thought. Yeah. Is that a better way to put it?
Yes, ma'am.
So that way, whatever we have, whatever, our body, our intelligence, our assets, the place where we are in, the sun, the moon, the air, the food is actually Krishna's. Krishna is saying that it is Aham Bija Pratapitaha. I am the seed-giving father for everybody, not just for human beings. He claims all living entities. Sarvayo Nishu Konteya. So every living entity is Krishna's. This is what Krishna is saying. I am the seed-giving father and everything else is mine. So basically, if we say, I am renouncing I'm taking a renunciation from this life. So a more intelligent mind will ask this question, what am I really renouncing? Because it was not mine really to begin with. So my condition is no better than this person standing in front of Bank of India or State Bank of India and saying, oh, Bank of India, I'm renouncing you. Okay, you getting? So that's what Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is saying. So what is a real renunciation? Use it for who it is, for whose it is. Use it for who it really belongs to. Use it for them. Use it for that person. Then that's the renunciation. Prabhupada was once giving lecture, and then he had this microphone. You know this microphone? So he tapped on the microphone. This microphone, we can say a non-devotee of Krishna will say, this microphone is made of matter. Like this has like earth, water, fire, air, ether. But a devotee of Krishna will say this is spiritual because this can be used in Krishna's service. So it is Krishna's, it is used for Krishna's service. So I am renounced in that way. Okay, do everything. So Arjun is asked, fight. But fight on Krishna's order. Fight because Krishna said it. Then it is a renunciation. It's not attachment. And this is the perfect way of living life, actually. Our mind has a tendency to get disturbed. If I have to write down right now, or if I ask each one of us to write down right now, make 2 columns and write down the things that are source of happiness in our life. And the other column, write down the things which are source of anxiety and misery and unhappiness in my life right at this minute. What do you think, which list will be longer? The sources of things or people which are bringing me happiness, or the list of misery and unhappiness, anxiety will be bigger? Which will be bigger?
Misery,
List
anxiety.
of anxiety.
I think the list will be equal.
For you, okay, fortunate. But for mostly, if you take an average person, there's always going to be a sign bell, somebody on the right side, somebody on the left side. But an average living person will have list of anxieties and miseries longer. In any particular day, we are solving more problems than relaxing. Yes, we are answering more questions than actually doing something else, which are related to how are we going to carry on with life? Like, is my job good enough for me? When am I graduating? When am I going to get married? Or when are my children going to grow up? When am I going to have a child? You see, these all are like problem solving. Problems are always more because our mind has become like that. But if we lead a life in a way that, okay, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do it for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And my boundary is just in a performance of an action. The result is 100% in somewhere else. It's in Krishna's hand. I control nothing in the result. So the journey becomes more joyful. Okay. We have a wrong definition of success. The definition of success we have is if I can't get something perfect. Success means if I have made it to Ivy League school, if I have made it to an excellent package of a job or business or whatever it is, if I'm famous, if I have a very big house, if I have good husband or good wife, unless and until I have those things, if I am beautiful, if I stay fit and healthy and do this yoga every day, then I'm successful. So unless and until I have all these things, it is a if. Yeah? Are you resonating? Or not? Or am
Yes,
I lying?
Mataji.
The definition of success. But Bhagavad Gita teaches us, 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita teaches us, there are 5 factors which are responsible for an action. It's not just me. There are 5 factors. So there are 5 factors important in the performance of the activity. Then the result of the activity is not in my hand. But let me just do it. Many people don't start something because they think I cannot get a success. I can't get successful, so why to do it? But actually, according to Bhagavad Gita, the success is defined as an endeavor to serve Krishna itself. Arjun is already successful if he agrees to serve Krishna. Just agreeing, not even just starting to fight, just agreeing. And when he fights, his success keeps increasing. If I live a life like this today, I am agreeing to serve Krishna in this particular way, and you make your own list. How are you going to do it? Every day or every year or somehow or every 2 weeks, revisit the list. Go on adding things in your life where you can be serving Krishna by cooking, by chanting Hare Krishna, by going to your work and remembering Krishna more than yesterday. Oh, I forgot Krishna yesterday 3 times. Okay, let me just, make sure I remember Krishna this time. You're already successful. This is what Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is saying. So that is a perfect way of living, because we are actually very well functioning in our domain of activity. And we are not dependent on something which we are not. Okay, there's a nice workshop we can do on this, on a circle of concern and a circle of influence. Okay, so Karma Yoga or Karma Sannyas, what's the answer? Karma Yoga or Karma Sannyas?
Karma Yoga.
One is better.
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga, thank you. So, Ge naha sa nitya sannyasi yona dveshti na kankshati nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjun. Okay? We are liberated. We are actually liberated even in this body. If my goal is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if that's the goal, if the goal is that, okay, how can I accumulate more and more things? Because by serving Krishna, we are not going to fall short in the secondary goal. You can have a primary goal and a secondary goal. The primary goal of a person is to serve Krishna by my work, by doing this, or by serving by preaching, by cooking, by doing whatever it is. Then the secondary goals will be satisfied, taken for granted. There is no one who's starving because they took Krishna's name. There's no one that I could think of in the history or from the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Bhagavad Gita. There is no one who has gone to Krishna to serve Krishna and Krishna has not taken care of that person. More. You get more. You give a little, you get more, because this is a competition of love. In Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna lives with his devotees, this thing is called as, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes this interaction between Krishna and his devotees is Dua Lage Hura Huri. There's a competition of love. Who is going to love Krishna more? Krishna loves his devotees more. The devotees try to love Krishna more. And then Krishna tries to love them more. Devotees try to love him more. So there's always a competition. Who is going to love who more? And love means service. I just can't say, okay, I have a son and I say, okay, my dear son, I love you. I love you so much. But I'm not going to get up from the bed. He has to go to school. He has to study. He has to go to his activities. But he gets hungry, he has to eat. But I just keep singing this saga all day. I love you, I love you, I love you, my child. I love you, my son. I'm your mom. I don't do anything for him. Is that love?
No, Mataji, that's insanity.
So basically what I'm trying to say is the definition of love is service. Where is the service? If I'm saying, oh, I love you, my child, where is the service? How well am I taking care of him? Says, if I say I love you, Krishna, where's the service? Where's the service? Okay, so there's a saying, I don't hear what you say. I don't hear what you say because your character is so loud in itself. So basically, our activity will speak for who we are. Okay, we don't have to really keep advertising ourselves as this or that. So basically from Krishna, renounce results, not the activity, not the action. And this is another example of what happens when we actually try to become Krishna conscious. So Haridas Thakur, this is Haridas Thakur. He comes in Chaitanya Chaitamrita and he is our Namacharya. Namacharya means is the Acharya of teaching us how to chant the holy name of Krishna with the love, not just mechanical chanting, vocal cords and tongue vibrating, not like that, but with love and affection. And there are 3 stages of chanting: Nama Parad, Nama Bhas, and Shuddha Nam. So Haridas Thakur Prabhupada is a perfect example of teaching us how to chant the Shuddha Nam. So because he was chanting Hare Krishna so purely, the purity attracts. You're looking for purity. Yeah, how many of us are looking forward to go to the place which is inflicted with tuberculosis, leprosy, vomiting, stool, urine. Yeah, how many of us are looking forward to go there? Anybody?
No one.
No, Mataji.
And how many of us are looking forward to go to a place like very clean, spick and span, everything well organized, clean air,
Yes.
clean water,
All of us,
clean
all
water,
of us.
Yeah, all
Switzerland,
of
let's go
us.
to Switzerland.
Yes.
So water,
Everyone.
so purity attracts. So purity is the quality which attracts because it is coming for Krishna. So because he was so pure, even though he wasn't advertising himself, hey, put the spotlight on me, I'm so pure, he was getting famous because he's a pure devotee, which didn't sit well with the local district magistrate or the Qazi. So he wanted to defame him. And to defame him, he sent this prostitute in the night. His plan was that the prostitute will go, and when there will be an interaction between Haridas Thakur and the prostitute, he will send his police, and the police will catch Haridas Thakur, and then he will be defamed. That see, he's claiming himself to be so pure. That see what he's doing in the dead of night. So this is what the plan was. Anyway, Haridas Thakur is chanting Hare Krishna. And then this Maya Devi herself, in the form of a very beautiful prostitute, goes. And he would chant 22 hours out of 24 hours a day. So she goes in his bhajan kutir. And she hears this soft chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then Haridas Thakur saw her and said, oh, thank you so much for coming. I will talk to you. But I have given this vow to my spiritual master to chant these many specific number of names on my beads every day. And I'm not done yet. I'm really running behind today. Could you just have a seat for some time? And then once I'm done chanting, I'll surely talk to you. So she sits in his courtyard and he keeps chanting. And then the sun breaks out. It's morning. So she gets up and goes. And then she comes the second night. And then Haridas Thakur apologizes. I'm so sorry. Yesterday I got so delayed. Today I have less number of rounds than yesterday. So today I'll be done very soon. So why don't you just sit for some time? Give me some time because I have to do it. I've given this vow to my guru. What can I do? And then I'll surely talk to you. So she sits and she's hearing this Shuddhanam from the lotus mouth of Haridas Thakur. Again, the sun comes out. She gets up and goes. The third night she comes. She's very curious and she's very astonished that how is it possible that she is going to a person and a person is not talking to her. Instead, there's something else that they're tasting more like relishable. What is this? So that night she goes and inquires from Haridas Thakur, what is it that you're doing that is able to keep you away from me? What is it? Then Haridas Thakur said, yes, I was waiting for you to ask this question. Otherwise, I would have left and gone long before. So then Haridas Thakur explains the importance of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and the taste and the purity and how the purification it has. And he initiates her. And she sits in his bhajan kutir and he takes off. So this is what the renunciation can look like, that even if, this is what the verse is, even if the sense objects cross our vision, we'll not be attracted. So it's Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyakta karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padma patramivam bhasha. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results onto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Okay, so Krishna is giving example of Padma Patra. Padma Patra means lotus leaves. Ivam Bhasha, not touched. So even though the Padma Patra or lotus leaf lives in the water, it does not imbibe the qualities of the water. It doesn't get wet. It doesn't dry up, right? It doesn't have mold growing on it because of its being in water all the time. So if we are able to separate and define our domain of activity, we are already renounced. And I'm going to show you this video and then I'll ask you this question. So we just saw Srila Prabhupada sitting on a place called Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, which is a hippie hill. Right? So he's sitting in with the hippies and doing this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So can we say, is it right to say that, oh, Srila Prabhupada is sitting with the hippies and doing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Surely he has imbibed the qualities of these hippies. Yeah?
No, Mataji.
Yeah? Are you sure? Yeah, can we say, oh, Srila Prabhupada, you're sitting with these hippies in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, so you're one of them. Can we say that?
No.
So, very nice. So even if we are seemingly situated in this place, if our consciousness is fully and 100% dovetail to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we don't become part of where we are situated. We use that place and circumstance to serve, to do our duty, but we don't mix with it. We don't recognize with it. That's not our identity anymore. Okay, so that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, the consciousness. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavi Hastini Suni Cheva Sapaka Vecha Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. Outcast. Even though Srila Prabhupada is sitting with everyone, we cannot say that he's one of them because he is a humble sage. And because of his equal vision, Pandita Samadarshina, he can have equal vision for everyone. What is that equal vision means? That everyone is a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is struggling to come out of some circumstance. I heard one Prabhupada's lecture, he says, we are all trying to make our condition better because we all feel stuck somewhere. But it will never happen unless and until that condition is ultimately in service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then what is the other side? This is interesting. So other side, somebody doesn't do it. Somebody doesn't do. Well, I say, okay, I'm going to do the work because I want to enjoy the fruits of my work. I am going to renounce, like Arjun wanted to renounce, because I don't want to fight. So I'm going to be an escapist. No matter what you call, I'm going to escape. And I'm going to do what I want to do. Fine. We can do. But then Krishna is giving his point of view. What does that life look like? This is a very nice verse. Yehi samsparsha jab hoga dukha yonaya evate adi antavant konteya nateshu ramate budha. So let's understand this. But understand that why one is making a choice to do this way or that way, because we are either trying to avoid some trouble or we have a definition of happiness. Either it's too troublesome and I don't want to deal with it, or I want to be happy and this is my definition of being happy. Now let's look at what Krishna is saying. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment. Sparsha means touch. So samsparshaja bhoga means the enjoyment that comes with the touch. Touch of what? Touch of a sense and a sense object. Let's, for example, if I want to eat rasgulla, so my sense is tongue and sense object is rasgulla. So I put the rasgulla on my tongue. So there is a touch between the sense and sense object. It generates a feeling of enjoyment. So that is first line is about. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. Krishna says dukkha yonaya evate. That is the origin of dukkha. That happiness which is coming from the touch of sense and sense object, that feeling of happiness is a beginning of one's miserable life. Why? Why? Aren't we like all trying to get good life? Is there anyone who's going out in the world and trying to see how more miserable my life can become? Yeah? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
Yes? Is that the goal of your life? how can I become more miserable than what I am right now? There's a book called How to Make Your Life Miserable. Okay, so there's a book like that. So are we looking forward for that? No. But Krishna says, if this is how we are living, then this is the beginning of our miserable life. Why? He explains, Adi, Anta, Vanta, Konteya. Adi means beginning. Anta means end. Because such happiness has a beginning and an end, O son of Kunti. Na teshu ramate budha. Na teshu means satisfaction. Ramate means enjoyment. Buddha means intelligent. An intelligent person will not derive happiness or satisfaction from something which has a beginning and an end. So an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise does not delight in them. So this is an example from other living species. In moths, the sense of vision is very prominent. After rain, if there is a bulb, we see these herds of moths being attracted to this bulb. Have you seen that? I have seen that in the rainy season. If there is a bulb outside,
Yes,
in
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
They get attracted by the sense of vision. Then what happens? They go and they attach themselves to that bulb. And the bulb is so hot, they get fried and they die. So the sense and sense object means contact means death. The deer has a very good sense of hearing. So the hunter is playing very nice flute and the deer is attracted to that. Goes, gets trapped. So contact of sense and sense objects, death. And then we have example of the honeybee, very nice sense of smell. So goes to collect nectar from flower to flower to flower. Goes in a flower, collecting nectar, sun goes down, the flower closes, dies. The honeybee dies. So death. Touch of sense and sense objects, death. Fish, very nice sense of taste. How is the fish caught by a fisherman? Throws a bait with the food on it. And there's so much food in the river, but this fish is attracted to that one. Goes and is caught and dies. So sense and sense objects touch, and then there's death. Such a big elephant, sense of touch is very prominent. How is this elephant caught by people? They make a very big pit, and then they cover it up with all these bamboos and branches. And then they train a she elephant to go and allure the boy. And she's trained to go around it. But he falls in the pit. So the desire to have a contact of sense and sense objects, death. This is how we are living. Okay, in animals, one sense is most prominent, but in human beings, all the five senses are equally prominent. So imagine how much fight we are fighting. Just imagine. This is the eye of the Shastras. This is a Shastra Chakshushaha. Then what does Krishna say? Because I have this pleasure-seeking tendency. I want happiness. I don't want distress. So what should I do? Krishna, this is the last verse of this chapter. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surdam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati. The sages know me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. Attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam. So Bhoktaram means enjoyer. Enjoyer of what? Yagya and tapasya. Yagya sacrifices, tapasya austerity. Yagya and tapasya, Krishna is the enjoyer of yagya and tapasya done by who? Done by who? Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. All the living entities in all the planets. Suhurdam Sarvabhutanam. I am the only enjoyer. Krishna is the only enjoyer. Okay. Only enjoyer of all the sacrifices and austerities done by all the living entities all over the creation. And Krishna says, I am the only best friend. Suhurdam Sarvabhutanam. Suhrat means best friend. There are 3 levels of friendships described in Bhagavad Gita. Mitra, Bandhu, Suhrat. Social friendship, official friendship, and best friend. Krishna says, I am the best friend of all the living entities. Sarvabhutanam. Gyatva mam shantim rachati. One who understands this about me, they can achieve peace. This is the peace formula. This this particular shloka Bhagavad Gita should be the motto of United Nations. This should be one of the key logos of United Nations. That Bhoktaram Yagna Tapastam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So Surdam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. So if we can live a life where I am living a life, but I'm gonna make Krishna as the enjoyer, where I am trying to preach, I'm trying to learn, but the subject matter is related to Krishna. And an intelligent person will be able to add Krishna in any subject matter because nothing is independent. Then I'm peaceful because I'm always with the Lord that I want to be. Okay, so let me just go to the last slide. So this is what we did today. Arjun asked karma sannyas or karma yoga, which is better. So we had little extensive discussion on what makes Arjun confused now. And Krishna says karma yoga is better than karma sannyas in verse 2 to 6. Then he explains the advantages of nishkam karma yoga is that because we don't have to get entangled in the fruits of the reactions. We actually are free from verse 7 to 16. And then he focuses that, okay, you can do all this, but focus on me. Make me as the goal of your life. The last verse. So liberation by focus on the Supreme. Okay, so I will show this video and then we can pick up some questions. This is Prabhupada.
Don't you read all this? Do you read? No. If you don't read, then you'll feel restless. Let me go from Japan to India, from India to Japan. You are restless because you don't read. I am laboring so hard for you, but you don't take advantage. Don't take advantage of eating and sleeping. Take advantage of these books. Then your life will be successful. My duty, I am giving so valuable things, day and night, trying to convince you, each word to word. And if you don't take advantage of this, then what can I do for you?
So Prabhupada is emphasizing that please read my books or his books. Okay. All right. Any questions? Reflections? You can raise your hand. I'll go over the chat. Oh, there's something in the chat. Does liberation here means liberation from cycle of birth and death? Yes, and also entrance into the Supreme Personality of Godhead's planet. Yes. Mataji, I'm facing trouble in concentration during studies. I'm not at all distracted due to phone, nor do I ever have till I'm not able to focus on my studies. What can I do? I have major exam in June, which is life-changing. What should I do? Well, there are too many factors which are, I'm going to give you a principle-based answer because I don't know the personal studying style, the different types of learning styles people have. There are different types of preparation styles for examination strategies. But one principal answer, which I think is uniform for all of us, is that we have an anxiety of failure. And that anxiety becomes so loud in the mind sometimes that we actually lose focus in preparation. I'll never be able to do it. Then the other part of the mind says, then why even waste time? Because there's so less time left, you'll never be able to do it. So by chanting Hare Krishna, one comes to an understanding that even if I'm not able to do it, what I can do is try. If I can just try. Okay, I don't know if that's an answer to your particular question. But generally, people are scared of failure, and the fear is always irrational. There is never a rational for a fear. That is why it's a fear. Otherwise, it would be something solid. Concerns are rational. There are concerns which could be placed on the rational ground. I'm concerned about my performance, but the fear is something which is always, it has no use in any domain. So what do we do? Not feel the fear? Yes, feel the fear, but also make intelligence stronger. And to me, chanting Hare Krishna knocks on the door of my intelligence. I just don't stay in the domain of the feelings anymore, because I can then just go and knock on the door of the intelligence and say, hey, intelligence, the function of intelligence is discrimination. Hey, intelligence, can you help me and tell me how much of attention should I pay on this feeling versus how much should I do on what I really can do at this time? Okay, so that's the advantage of chanting Hare Krishna, because you get to see the choices in every circumstance. And that's not the reason we chant.